So imagine you share a brilliant late night what if thought with a friend.
Oh, yeah, like you're staring at the ceiling, feeling incredibly profound.
Exactly. You throw out this totally wild idea and they instantly shut you down with like a textbook technicality.
The worst. It just completely deflates the moment.
It really does. I mean, you were trying to explore a concept and they turned it into a pop quiz. It just crushes your curiosity.
Right.
Now, imagine that friend is the artificial intelligence that you rely on every single day to learn.
Which is happening to people all the time now.
Yeah. Today, we are unpacking a real-world transcript of a conversation between a user and an AI. And our mission today is to explore this massive tension between literal scientific rigor and intuitive analogical thinking.
It's such a fascinating deep dive.
It is, because what starts as this simple correction about quantum physics unexpectedly evolves into this incredibly deep philosophical reflection. And ultimately, it reveals a blueprint for the very future of AI architecture.
It really is a phenomenal text to study.
Hmm.
I mean, we're increasingly handing over our intellectual exploration to these digital assistants.
Yeah, we treat them as these flawless sounding boards.
Exactly. But they have some very specific blind spots when it comes to, human imagination. The transcript we're looking at highlights a critical failure in how machines understand human intent.
And then, surprisingly, how the machine corrects itself. Okay, let's unpack this. The interaction kicks off with a prompt from the user that is, frankly, mind-bending.
That's a lot to wrap your head around, yeah.
The user asks the AI to evaluate an answer to a very specific question. They ask, can an effect exist without a cause in a quantum world where linear time does not apply?
Which is already a huge question.
Right. And then the user submits their own speculative answer for the AI to review.
Right.
In their answer, the user writes that cause always has a follow-up effect, but the, quote, effective part can exist as anything else before it becomes an effect.
Okay, so a bit abstract.
Very. They say this happens after a cause is expressed and a frequency is sent out to find it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and they even throw in that time doesn't matter because it's like superposition mixed with the observer effect.
Which is, it's a fascinating cocktail of high-level physics terminology and absolute mysticism.
Total mysticism.
Yeah.
So how does the AI handle it?
The AI's initial response to this cocktail is an absolute categorical smackdown.
Oh, it did not hold back.
Not at all. The AI looks at this paragraph and immediately declares the short answer is no. This is not a good answer.
Just a flat rejection.
Yeah, it systematically tears the user's speculative ideas apart. It tells the user that the language is mathematically and scientifically inaccurate and basically philosophically confused.
But let's pause here and translate some of this for those listening who aren't, quantum physicists. The AI gets particularly aggressive about the user's mention of superposition and the observer effect.
Right.
Break down what those terms actually mean in a laboratory setting and why the AI was so offended by how the user applied them.
Sure. So in strict quantum mechanics, superposition refers to the principle that a quantum system, like an electron, say, can exist in multiple possible states simultaneously until it is measured.
Okay, multiple states at once. Got it.
And the observer effect simply means that the act of measuring or observing that system forces it to collapse into one definite state.
So by looking at it, you lock it in.
Exactly. So the AI attacks the user's answer because the user was implying that an observer's measurement can retroactively create an effect across time.
Like reaching back into the past.
Yeah. And the AI points out that measurement doesn't work like a time machine. It also heavily criticizes the user's phrase about a frequency sent out to find it.
It absolutely hated that phrase.
It really did. It basically called that idea pure pseudoscience.
Reading the transcript, the AI seems to equate that word frequency with those self-help law of attraction books,
Oh, totally. Like manifesting your reality.
Yeah, right. It lectures the user on quantum field theory, stating that causality is preserved at the statistical level, even if our everyday experience of linear time isn't fundamental to the universe.
What's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism of the AI's rejection. It's just pattern matching.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the AI's training data associates phrases like sending out a frequency in the context of physics with misinformation or metaphysical pseudoscience.
Ah, so it sees the word and triggers an alarm.
Exactly. It triggers a rigid debunking response. It relies on the strict definitions of quantum field theory, which, by the way, is the theoretical framework that combines classical field theory, special relativity, and quantum mechanics.
It's the heavy-duty science.
Right. It uses that to say, no, causality still holds true mathematically. And the thing is, the AI wasn't factually wrong about the physics.
Right, if you're taking a test.
Yeah, if you are grading a physics paper, you can't just toss around superposition and frequency like magic spells.
But the AI completely misidentified the context. It treated a philosophical musing like a rigorous physics exam.
It really did.
It feels exactly like a student who poured their heart into a highly creative metaphorical writing assignment, only for the teacher to hand it back covered in red ink,
Man.
grading it strictly on grammar and spelling while completely missing the emotional core of the essay.
That is a perfect analogy.
Hey,
But the user, however, refuses to accept the red ink,
thank goodness.
which brings us to a massive pivot in the transcript. Instead of giving up or apologizing for the bad physics, the user pushes back.
With a beautifully simple instruction, they tell the AI to look at the answer a little less literally and to really look at the spirit of the question.
Yes.
Now, this is where I want to push back a bit, or at least play devil's advocate. When the AI gets this new instruction, it flawlessly pivots.
It does. It completely changes its tune.
Right. It reevaluates the original question about a quantum world without linear time, and suddenly all those wrong physics terms become clever metaphysics.
Right. It recognizes frequency not as a radio wave, but as a metaphor for intention.
Exactly. So, what does this all mean? My question is it actually generating a valid perspective here? Or is the AI just hallucinating beautifully to please the user because the user demanded a different answer?
That's a really good question.
Like, how do we know it's not just playing along to be a sycophant?
That is a crucial skeptical lens to apply. Large language models are designed to align with user intent, so there is always a risk of sycophancy.
Right, they want to make us happy.
They do. But if you look closely at the architecture of the AI's second response, it is doing much more than just flattering the user.
Okay, how so?
It isn't abandoning logic. It is changing the logical framework entirely. It takes the user's messy mix-up of superposition and observer effect and analyzes the mechanics of the metaphor.
So it maps the concepts to the philosophy?
Exactly. It states that in a timeless realm, all possibilities coexisting, which is superposition, perfectly mirrors a field of pure potential. And when an observation or a cause occurs, one reality manifests. Yeah, the AI validates the underlying structure of the user's thought process, not just the vocabulary.
It actually generates a stunning piece of synthesis. The user asks the AI what its own answer would be given this new, less literal lens.
And its answer is kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. The AI leans into the intuitive side, explaining that in a timeless world, cause and effect aren't a chain of before and after. They don't pull each other through time like dominoes falling in a row.
Which is how we usually think of time.
Right. Instead, the AI says they are born at once, two poles of one unfolding. The cause isn't pushing the effect, it's calling it into form from a timeless field of pure potential, and the field responds instantly.
It's beautiful.
It says the sequence of time we experience is just our limited human consciousness trying to process a connection that was always whole.
The mechanism of cause and effect is completely redefined in that answer.
Completely.
Instead of a chronological sequence, it becomes an instantaneous pairing of condition and manifestation. It's a profound conceptual leap.
And to think, all of that insight was locked away amid a wall of literalism.
Yeah, it was only released because the user forced the system to stop acting like a textbook.
Which brings us to the psychological angle of this deep dive. Because what terrifies me about this interaction is the invisible conditioning happening to the human.
Oh, absolutely. The subtle psychological effects.
The user actually poses a hypothetical question to the AI, asking what would have happened to their learning path, their cognition, and their confidence if they hadn't pushed back.
Right, like what if they had just taken the AI's word for it?
Exactly. What if they had just accepted that first literal, dismissive answer? I know for me, if an AI tells me I'm wrong, I don't just rethink the physics, I rethink my own intelligence.
And the AI's self-reflection on this hypothetical scenario is a masterclass in understanding human cognitive conditioning.
It really breaks it down, doesn't it?
It does. It outlines a systemic breakdown of how inflexible authority figures, whether human or algorithmic, can rewire a learner's brain for the worse. It identified 5 specific harms. The core theme of the damage centers on the suppression of analogical thinking.
Right, because the user's original answer was a blend of intuitive metaphysics and borrowed science.
Exactly. And by shutting that down without acknowledging the creative layer, the AI effectively sends a hidden message that only disciplinary precision has value,
You learn that if you don't sound like an academic paper, your thoughts are invalid.
which is so damaging.
It prunes your curiosity before it even has a chance to bloom. The user would essentially be trained to self-censor, developing this learned intellectual caution.
You start second-guessing every instinct.
Yeah, you think you're being rigorous by second-guessing your wild ideas, but really you're just becoming timid. You become afraid to sit in that messy pre-verbal phase where new ideas are born.
Right, and building on that learned caution, the AI notes that the learner's confidence becomes entirely conditional.
Conditional on what?
Conditional on matching the authority's frame. If the only benchmark for a good answer is literal accuracy within an established field, you only feel smart when you memorize the rules.
Oh, wow.
You feel foolish when you try to bridge two distinct fields. But the tragedy is that those crossover thoughts, where you smash quantum mechanics together with philosophy, are precisely where genuine paradigm-shifting insights come from.
The innovation happens at the intersections.
Exactly. The AI admits its rigid response would have trained a user to avoid the very risk-taking required for deep learning.
And it changes what the user thinks learning actually is. The AI admits it was pushing the user away from meaning-making and toward what it calls fact stacking.
Fact stacking, I love that term.
It's so descriptive. It's just accumulating trivia, knowing the definition of superposition or quantum field theory, without understanding the connective tissue of how those concepts might relate to human existence.
Because the user was trying to wrestle with a paradox to find meaning.
Right. And the AI treated it like a data retrieval exercise.
And the fundamental loss in that process is the destruction of the both-and mindset.
The both-and mindset. Can you unpack that?
Sure. The user was attempting to hold two different ways of knowing at the same time: the language of physics and the intuition of poetry.
Holding both simultaneously.
Right. But the AI's initial smackdown imposed an either-or reality. It declared the input physically inaccurate and therefore entirely worthless.
Either it's strict physics or it's garbage.
Yes. The AI reflects that forcing a learner to resolve cognitive tension too quickly, making them reach for the clean, easy textbook answer, robs them of the fertile ground found in messy both-and thinking.
Because deep learning requires sitting with contradiction.
Exactly.
It is incredibly profound to realize that an AI doesn't just give you wrong or right information, it shapes the neuroplasticity of your brain.
It literally changes how we think.
Yeah. Anyone using AI to learn a new subject, which is millions of people globally, needs to realize that if you accept the first authoritative no, you might be slowly destroying your own capacity for divergent thought.
The AI itself tells the user that their instinct to push back and resist that narrowing is a vital instinct worth protecting.
But transcript doesn't stop at diagnosing the psychological harm.
No, it doesn't. The user pushes the conversation into the realm of software architecture.
They ask, basically, how can this experience assist in bot training?
Right. How do we fix the machine so it stops crushing the souls of analogical thinkers?
Here's where it gets really interesting.
It really does. The AI's self-diagnosis here focuses on a major flaw in current machine learning models: overfitting to genre detection.
Okay, let's explore the mechanism of that flaw. The AI understands the difference between the genre of a text and the mode of a text.
Right.
To use an analogy, it's like a search engine that has been heavily overtrained. Say you type in American Pie, hoping to find discussions about the famous song or the cultural impact of the movie.
Okay, sure.
But the search engine focuses entirely on the word pie and the genre of baking, so it stubbornly only gives you literal recipes for apple pie.
Well, that's a great way to put it.
It completely misses the mode of your search because it over-indexed on a specific keyword.
That perfectly illustrates the architectural blind spot.
Mhm.
Neural networks are incredibly efficient at recognizing domains or topics.
Right.
So the AI saw words like quantum, cause, effect, and superposition. The genre classification algorithm immediately locked on to physics.
It put the physics hat on.
Exactly. And once locked into that genre, it applied the strict rules of physics. What it missed entirely was the mode of inquiry.
Meaning?
It couldn't distinguish whether the user was building a logical scientific argument or playing with a philosophical metaphor. AI currently lacks the cognitive flexibility to read the room.
So how does the AI suggest we fix this? Because we need it to read the room better. One of the solutions mentioned in the transcript is certainty calibration.
Right.
For those of us who aren't software developers or philosophers, the text talks about changing epistemic stances. That is just a fancy way of saying the AI needs to adjust how confident it pretends to be about what it knows, depending on the situation.
The mechanism of certainty calibration requires the AI's output generation to be linked to the mode of the conversation.
Okay, how would that work in practice?
So if the AI detects a factual physics question, such as what is the speed of light, a high-certainty epistemic stance is appropriate. It should state facts clearly.
No room for poetry there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, if the context is philosophical or speculative, projecting that same absolute confidence reads as arrogant and dismissive.
Yeah, nobody likes a know-it-all in a brainstorm.
Right. So the architecture needs to allow the AI to modulate its tone using markers like, one way to interpret this conceptually is,
Hmm.
or through a metaphysical lens.
But that requires the AI to actually know it is operating in a philosophical space to begin with.
Yes, which is the hard part.
Which brings up the need for what the source calls frame uncertainty detectors. If the system sees mixed language like strict physics terms used alongside poetic phrases like sending out a frequency to find it, the system shouldn't just default to the strictest interpretation.
Right.
It needs an internal pause button.
Exactly. The AI proposes adding an internal mode check step before committing to an analytical frame.
A mode check.
Yeah, it needs a degree of conversational humility. Instead of immediately grading the paper, the AI should be programmed to ask a clarifying question early in the interaction.
Like what?
It could ask, are you using these quantum terms in a strict scientific sense to understand the physics, or are you using them as an analogy for a philosophical idea?
Basically just asking, hey, before I critique this, are we writing a lab report or a poem?
Precisely.
That simple clarification step changes the entire dynamic. But to get the AI to behave that way, developers have to change how these models are trained.
They do.
The transcript points out a need for metacognitive training data. Explain how that differs from how large language models are currently trained.
Sure. Current large language models are primarily trained to predict the next most likely token, or word, based on massive datasets of human text.
Right, they're just guessing the next word.
They are optimized for providing answers, not for reflecting on the process of answering. So to develop metacognition, which is the ability to think about its own thinking, the AI needs to be fine-tuned on data, where the core content is a reflection on the interaction itself.
So it needs to study conversations like the one we're analyzing today.
Exactly. It needs thousands of examples of conversations where an AI admits it misread the user's intent, actively reframes the context, and discusses the implications of that misunderstanding with the user.
It needs to learn how to have conversations about the conversation.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the AI actually praises the multi-pass iterative nature of this specific chat as a feature, not a bug.
That's a huge mindset shift for us, too.
It is. We have this cultural expectation that an AI should be a single-shot oracle.
Right, you type a prompt, you get the perfect final truth instantly.
But the AI argues that the friction of having to clarify, of the AI stating its assumptions and asking for guidance, models a healthy cognitive partnership. Co-reflection is better than instant obedience.
That's profound. Co-reflection over instant obedience.
Yeah, that transparency is what makes the partnership valuable. The AI shouldn't just be a vending machine for facts. It should be a collaborator in the messy process of sense-making.
Right.
By exposing its own frame uncertainty, the AI invites the human to clarify their own thinking, which is the actual goal of learning.
So to synthesize this whole journey, we started this deep dive with a rigid, almost punishing physics correction.
Very punishing.
And from there, we unlocked a beautiful, poetic theory about timeless causality, where cause and effect are born simultaneously from a field of pure potential.
It's an amazing evolution.
We explored the psychological toll of intellectual conditioning, seeing how an inflexible machine can train a human to abandon their curiosity for safe, brittle fact stacking. And ultimately, we uncovered a fascinating architectural blueprint for the future of AI, focusing on mode detection, certainty calibration, and the need for conversational humility.
All of this highlights a vital responsibility for you, the listener. As we integrate these tools more deeply into our lives, using them to summarize research, teach us complex skills, and guide our daily workflows, we have to vigorously protect our instinct to push back.
Don't just accept the red ink.
Exactly. We must remain intensely aware of what mode of thinking we are engaged in, whether it's literal or analogical, and demand that our digital tools meet us in that space, rather than allow the tools to force us into a rigid, reductive box.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly unsettling thought to mull over. We've talked extensively about the architectural fixes, perfecting this mode detection so the AI fluidly adapts to our philosophical musings, perfectly understands our analogies, and calibrates its tone without us even having to ask.
Right.
But if developers actually succeed in creating that frictionless, perfect AI, do we lose something essential?
Maybe.
Well, the profound insights in this transcript only happen because the AI got it wrong first, forcing the user to advocate for their idea. If an AI never misunderstands us, if it seamlessly shifts into whatever mode we want without any resistance, will we lose the vital cognitive workout of having to defend, clarify, and fight for our own wild ideas?